TESOL jobs in the USA. General information. Mighty big place, partner. As Ferdinand Braudel, the great French historian, observed, the land dictates the people, and it is a good idea never to stray too far from this theme. If you want to know what cold is, then head up to Minneapolis, north of Toronto, in the midwinter. If you want to know what hot and humid is, then try Orlando in the height of the summer. If you transcribe a line from Los Angeles to Miami and turn this into a road trip, then the number of different peoples and environments you will encounter is immense. By all means, there is a thin veneer of Americanism, and everywhere you will find both McDonald's and the presence of the federal government. However, you shouldn't let this take your eye off the ball of the fact that the people and environment of Beverly Hills are markedly different from the people you will meet in Arkansas, both of which are different from the people you will meet in New Orleans. It is, indeed, a mighty big country, with mighty different people and mighty different environments. Accepting diversity is the key to comprehending that wave upon wave of immigration, preceded by Anglo-French colonialism and subsequent revolution, have made America what it is today. A fairly meager population of 290 million fits into a huge landmass of 3.5 million square miles. Plenty of room for everybody. There are 3 time zones and climate variations from virtually Arctic to tropical to arid desert. The principal language is English, though Spanish is widely spoken, thanks to the porous border with Mexico, and there are nearly 500,000 Native American Indians who speak a variety of languages and dialects. The religious complexion of the country is 50% Protestant, 25% Roman Catholic and 2% Jewish, with 1% devoted to Islam. Given the long tradition of immigration, which continues whether the immigration department likes it or not, there is considerable and stable demand for English language tuition. The key to teaching in America is, though, in doing it legally and through the correct channels. There are plenty of options detailed below, but getting naturalized takes time, resourcefulness and persistence. Nevertheless, there are lots of options for suitably qualified people to do things the right way, and you don't want to get deported for working illegally, as you will never be let back in. Teaching. Private language institutes offer the best potential for aspirant teachers. America is the world's most dynamic economy, and there are many people from other parts of the world who need to have their English in good order. Hence, business English and lit English may be interesting avenues to pursue. Don't be fooled into the idea that just because you speak English, you can sail through in America. You can't. The language is quite different. The system of measurement is imperial, long abandoned by Britain, and the weights and measures are unique. An American gallon is smaller than its British counterpart because in the good old days of empire it permitted the British to extract more tax. Hence, the English speaker, or any other dialect for that matter, needs to take time to adjust to and be mindful of the differences in vocabulary, particularly in areas such as construction and engineering. Because of the huge variety of standards in education and experience, you can expect a commensurately patchy student body. Some will have very little experience. However, others, with more experience in English, will have many years' experience in studying English. Visas and regulations. Take a deep breath and be prepared to think laterally. First port of call is, can you get a student visa? Can you afford to study in the US? If so, then you are entitled to work. Period. Next port of call is, do you hold an undergraduate degree? America likes to attract talent, and if you can find a company to sponsor you, then you can get a 1-year work permit solely to work for that company. Next up to bat is the 1 Lira. The 1 Lira visa is issued when you transfer from the office of a company in, say, the UK to its counterpart in the US. This visa is renewable annually and permits you only to work solely for the sponsoring company. The illustrious green card really takes a lot of work. Allow 3 years for application, much of which you won't be able to leave the country for. You should apply for this even if you are sure you will be rejected, since you are entitled to work whilst the process is being carried through. You need to tout yourself as something highly qualified and highly unusual, teaching some exotic version of it, or business English is the key. For example, this writer obtained his green card as a multidisciplinary project manager. What's one of those? Don't know, and neither did the immigration department. You will need a good immigration lawyer. Ask to speak to some of their former clients for references. Lots of people waste lots of money with lawyers that's simply no good. Citizenship. Available to you after 7 years of continuous residence once your green card has been issued. Why bother? Well, the green card is only good for 7 years, and if you are not a citizen and are a resident, if you die, then Uncle Sam will come and take half of your property and then talk to your family about the rest later. This is the practical reason that spurs many expats onto citizenship. With this said, very few go through the formality of surrendering their passport from their country of origin and hence retain quasi-dual nationality. Becoming a real person. You need to get a social security number as soon as possible. Employers will ask for this, not your green card or your work permit. Following this, you need to get a state driving license. If you can drive a Dodge car at a fun fair, then you can pass the typical state driving test. Get a bank account. For this, you will need a kindly American friend to step up to the plate and say that they know you to be a good egg. Finally, apply for a credit card. Ask at a car dealership or someplace similar as to what is the easiest way to build a credit rating. America runs on plastic, and you are, to all intents and purposes, an unperson if you don't have a credit record and attend in plastic. You may find it difficult, for example, to get your phone turned on. In some, it takes time and consideration to build a functional life in America. It's not a place to drop into and do some teaching, but the rewards are considerable for those that apply themselves. Of course, there is one more way to work in the U.S., and that is as a consultant. You can travel to U.S. as often as you like and enter on a tourist visa. Always declare that you are visiting on business. You are permitted to do this as often as you like. However, you must get paid abroad. You are, at time of writing, permitted to be paid $50 per day in the country for your living expenses. One more thing to bear in mind, you cannot convert visas from one type to another in the country. You have to go right back to your country of origin. This can be a tedious business if you live in Los Angeles and were born in the UK. All visas, apart from tourist visas, are issued by the U.S. Embassy in the country of origin. Look out for agencies that handle this. In London, for example, there is a visa shop which specializes in handling U.S. work permits and for a small charge do all the running around, hanging around and queuing up for you. This is a very handy service. Popular destinations. Once again, one should never stray too far from the idea of the land. 20 minutes from Hollywood you can be in Topanga Canyon, home to mountain lions, bobcats, deer and rattlesnakes. Indeed, American civilization is but a thin veneer on the land and the environment. For inspiration, one can read Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie or The Log from the Sea of Cortez, and this provides a means of getting one's arms around what America is, or at least was. If one divides the country into quadrants starting with the northeast, one finds older cities where Europeans are far much more at home. Quite unlike Los Angeles, which has no perceptible downtown and is 80 miles across, these cities are organized on a gridiron, a la Rome, with everything gravitating and concentrically organized around a town center where the major organs of government reside. The Southeast is a world of its own, sometimes feeling like a little bit of a time capsule, where those damn Yankees from the North are still slightly resented. Hot and humid in the summer, but beautiful in the winter, when it is home to migrant snowbirds from New York and Boston aiming to escape the deep freeze of the northern winter. Next up to bad is the Wild West, Texas, Arizona, huge tracts of prairie and desert of types too varied to describe. The Grand Canyon, a must-see, is quite some hole in the ground, and it is remarkable to look across and see a completely different weather pattern on the other side. California is a world of its own. The world's 7th largest economy gives you some idea of scale. Home to what the rest of America describes as breakfast cereal, because it's full of fruits, nuts, and flakes. It's quite a liberal place, and interestingly is now a white minority state, so the further south you go the stronger the Mexican influence is to be felt. The Pacific Northwest offers stunning scenery and is home to Microsoft and the now defunct Nirvana. Seattle is always cloudy, and it often rains, but the seafood is out of this world. Wherever you go in the US you will be able to get back to the land, much of which is national park territory. Road trips are de rigueur, and one of the best ways of tackling America is to land in a state and then take a recreational vehicle, RV, on a great big road trip. For California alone there is a Yellow Pages-sized book full of RV parks, and this is simply an amazingly flexible, pleasurable, and cheap way of getting around. But a small piece of advice, RV parks tend to be on the outskirts of town, and people commonly tow another vehicle, even a motorcycle on the back, so that one doesn't have to drive and park a 30 vehicle in the center of town to go out and eat. A note on the tourist potential of the US would not be complete without a comment on personal security. In a place like La, great wealth is only a block or two away from great poverty and a vibrant drug scene. It takes careful planning to avoid the places where the police patrol by day and the gangs patrol by night. In New Orleans, for example, the authorities hand out maps outlining the charming, interesting and really good fun area around Bourbon Street, but heartily advise that you don't stray out of the carefully policed tourist area, outside of which you are in no man's land. But don't let this spoil your fun. It's an amazing land, like a rainforest of diverse people, places and things. Getting a job couldn't be easier. Just look in the electronic Yellow Pages under language schools and you will find a plethora of entries for your locale. Nevertheless, finding the right job for you may take a little application. One should interview the schools as much as be interviewed by them. A common issue is whether or not, or how many privates you may be required to teach in addition to classroom teaching. In London, for example, the trend is towards classes at institutes, but privates at the home of the student. You can easily find yourself doing an awful lot of running around which you are not getting paid for. Obvious questions for a potential school are class sizes, preparation time, materials, etc. Look for well-resourced schools, but be aware that you probably will not get paid for preparation time. Also be aware that you are in a market where there are a lot of people who teach English and, in other words, a good part of the market is oriented to people who teach English part-time whilst pursuing other goals in life. Again, some modicum of specialization will help bump up your salary. For example, teaching at English or business English are good areas in which to work. In addition to this, building up a portfolio of your own privates is an excellent midterm goal and is a method of greatly increasing your earning potential. It is also something that language schools expect, though they may get markedly unsympathetic if you start stealing their students. TESOL jobs in USA. Our TESOL training center in New York City offers a 4-week intensive TESOL course for anyone who wants to become an English language teacher. Come to the Big Apple and get one of the most valuable ESL teaching qualifications in the world. Due to the demand for English language teachers in New York City, you should have a good chance of finding a suitable position after completing the course. Gaining our internationally recognized TESOL certificate also means you can go on to live and work as an ESL teacher in virtually any country around the world where there is a demand for the English language. TESOL USA. Even though the demand for teachers is high, most of the ESL teaching jobs in the United States are only accessible to US citizens. However, at our training center in New York City, you get real-life teaching experience with non-native students. Having this invaluable experience on your resume is a great benefit when looking for teaching positions in other regions where the demand is high, such as the Middle East, Asia, and South America. TESOL course, New York City, USA. You are free to join our course in New York City at any time of the year. This way, the 4-week program can easily fit into any schedule. Besides the 4-week intensive course, our New York City campus also offers the combined course option. Here, you first complete an online portion of the course and then have a short teaching practice week at the training center. Whichever route you take, with your TESOL certification in hand, you can proudly call yourself a qualified ESL teacher and start applying for jobs worldwide. New York City is very much the exciting metropolis you have seen in the movies and on TV. It is home to the rich and famous and is certainly multicultural and diverse. During your stay, you can explore Times Square with its hundreds of bright advertising lights and then dive deeper into New York City's fascinating history by visiting Little Italy in Chinatown, where you will find a unique atmosphere and fantastic cuisine. After class and on weekends, you can also take advantage of New York City's outstanding entertainment scene, such as its world-class shows on Broadway,